Young Sheldon's most divisive character, returns in Georgie and Mandy's sequel, confirmed by Meemaw actors BTS Image. When Young Sheldon ended its 7-season run in 2024, it not only wrapped up the early years of Sheldon Cooper, but also laid the groundwork for a future spin-off focused on Georgie and Mandy as they navigate marriage and parenthood in Texas. Fans of the Big Bang Theory universe were excited, but also anxious. The spin-off promised a shift from Sheldon's cerebral lens to a more grounded, heartfelt take on family life in Medford. However, a recent behind-the-scenes image posted by Meemaw actress Annie Potts has stirred the fandom into a frenzy, confirming the return of young Sheldon's most controversial character, Pastor Jeff. While the spin-off, now officially titled Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, is still in early production, the image of Potts alongside Matt Hobby in full clerical costume has reignited a long-standing debate within the young Sheldon community. Pastor Jeff's polarizing presence divided viewers during the original series run. Some loved his comedic awkwardness, while others saw him as an inconsistent and often intrusive character. Now, with his return confirmed, the sequel series is already showing signs that it won't shy away from revisiting the complex character dynamics that made young Sheldon both beloved and contentious. Pastor Jeff, a divisive figure from the start. Introduced early in young Sheldon, Pastor Jeff quickly became a key figure in the life of the Cooper family. As the head of the church that Mary attended, his influence was particularly pronounced during the early seasons. Initially portrayed as an affable but clueless church leader, his character evolved, sometimes in ways fans found jarring. His involvement in Mary's spiritual journey, his rocky first marriage, and his often unfiltered views on morality gave viewers plenty to talk about. To some, Pastor Jeff was the source of much-needed humor in a show that often balanced light-hearted comedy with somber moments of family drama. Matt Hobby's portrayal leaned into absurdity, making Pastor Jeff feel like a lovable caricature of a small-town preacher. But to others, his exaggerated behavior and meddling often felt like narrative distractions, especially when he inserted himself into Mary and George's increasingly strained marriage. By the final seasons of Young Sheldon, Pastor Jeff had become a walking contradiction, part comic relief, part moral authority, and sometimes even a symbol of hypocrisy within the show's depiction of Southern religious life. Now, his return in the spin-off hints that the creators aren't afraid to stir up those complicated waters again. What Annie Potts' behind-the-scenes image revealed. Annie Potts' behind-the-scenes Instagram post was seemingly innocuous at first, a cheerful cast reunion on set, featuring herself in a kitchen set reminiscent of Meemaw's house. But eagle-eyed fans quickly zoomed in on a familiar figure standing beside her, Matt Hobby, unmistakably dressed as Pastor Jeff, complete with his trademark clerical collar and plaid shirt. The caption read, "Back in Medford, and someone's still preaching. Pastor problems #G and first marriage." That was all it took. The comment section exploded. Some fans welcomed the familiar face. "Yes, Pastor Jeff is back. I missed his weird sermons and awkward energy," one user wrote. Others weren't so thrilled. Why bring him back? He ruined so many scenes in YS, read another. While the creators have yet to officially confirm Matt Hobby's casting in the spin-off, Potts' post has become the de facto announcement. And if the character is appearing alongside Meemaw, it suggests that the show won't isolate itself strictly within Georgie and Mandy's home. It'll lean into the larger Medford community, giving room for legacy characters to re-enter the fold. The thematic role of Pastor Jeff in the sequel. Why bring back Pastor Jeff, especially when his presence was so polarizing? There's a deeper logic at play. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is reportedly structured around the challenges of young parenthood, financial instability, and the ever-present pressures of growing up in a deeply religious, conservative town. Pastor Jeff's return positions him as a mirror for Georgie's development as a husband and father. In young Sheldon, Pastor Jeff was often a symbol of what not to do in marriage. His rocky relationship with his wife and his attempts at spiritual counseling often bordered on the absurd. Now, his character could serve a new purpose as a cautionary tale or perhaps as a reformed figure who genuinely tries to guide Georgie and Mandy through the tough early years. There's also a comedic angle. Jeff's out-of-touch yet well-meaning approach to life advice offers fertile ground for conflict and humor. Imagine Jeff officiating Georgie and Mandy's vow renewal with wildly inappropriate anecdotes, or giving parenting advice based on outdated church pamphlets. The possibilities for awkward comedy are endless. A strategic move for continuity and nostalgia. The return of Pastor Jeff isn't just a narrative decision, it's also a strategic one. Spin-offs often struggle to retain viewers without strong connective tissue to the original series. While Georgie and Mandy were breakout favorites by the end of Young Sheldon, the show's larger charm came from its community, the church, the school, Meemaw's house, and all the eyeball characters that made Medford feel real. Pastor Jeff is part of that DNA. Bringing him back is a way to bridge Young Sheldon with its spiritual successor, keeping longtime viewers engaged while introducing new character arcs. Additionally, Matt Hobby's Pastor Jeff represents a brand of comedy that sets this universe apart from typical sitcoms. His mannerisms, awkward phrasing, and ill-timed metaphors offer a very specific kind of humor that can set Georgie and Mandy's first marriage apart from more generic family shows. Fan reactions: hopeful, hesitant, heated. Unsurprisingly, the fan response to Pastor Jeff's return has been a microcosm of the larger Young Sheldon discourse. On Reddit, threads lit up with debates. He's one of the few characters who felt consistent across the seasons, one user defended. People just don't like seeing religion handled with any nuance. Others were more critical. The show doesn't need him. Mandy and Georgie have a great dynamic. Don't let Pastor Jeff dominate the narrative, another comment warned. Some fans even theorized that Jeff's return could foreshadow more storylines about Mary Cooper, who may struggle to reconcile her grief over George Sr. with the church's expectations. In this context, Jeff becomes less of a comedic insert and more of a thematic foil to characters navigating loss, doubt, and spiritual identity. What this means for the wider TBBT universe: Pastor Jeff's return also reopens doors for other Young Sheldon characters to make cameo appearances. Brenda Sparks, Principal Peterson, and even adult Sheldon's voiceover could re-emerge in some capacity. With Jeff acting as a thread to the past, the spin-off can weave in those connections more organically. It also emphasizes that Georgie and Mandy's first marriage won't just be about young love or raising a baby. It's about navigating a world still shaped by the past, whether that's parental expectations, religious norms, or lingering community dynamics. Pastor Jeff embodies all of that, a man rooted in tradition, often fumbling to stay relevant in a changing world. That theme aligns perfectly with what Georgie and Mandy are up against. Final thoughts: a risk worth taking? Bringing back Pastor Jeff is undeniably a gamble. He was never a universally